Ripley.
And I'm John.
And this is Comicsplaining.
The show where it's been a while since I said I'm sorry.
It's been a while.
What do you have to say sorry for?
For our impromptu break.
Yeah. There was a wedding, and then
Ripley was out of town for a wedding, and then the week after that, I had a week from hell, and I was too tired. So...
Guys, we're doing this because it's fun.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really minds, to be honest.
Maybe, but still.
We'll see.
well, it's been a while.
So what happened last time? And which ones matter? I see New Mutants is up, but I don't know if that matters.
Hey, are we not gonna, talk first? About anything? We've got things to talk about.
Then let's talk.
John, you have cats. Tell us about the cats.
They have diarrhea.
Oh, that's what we're leading with? Good
Yes.
Lord.
I don't think we said on this show. That happened in the time that we have not been recording.
I'm very tired.
You haven't even explained the cats in
John,
the first place.
So we already talked about how John bought a house.
Apparently I bought cats as well.
Yeah, there's a mama cat and 5 babies who were under the back deck, I guess.
Back porch, which is almost technically a deck. It's pathetic. But it has room for cats.
Yep.
Which is why it had cats under it. It no longer has cats under it. They now are inside the house.
Yeah. So John obtained 6 new cats.
Which is a lot of cats.
Did they have names yet?
No.
No.
John is refusing to name them.
I don't want to get that attached.
Naming them is not about getting attached.
But it is going to attach me to them more.
Well, fucking get over it. You're not gonna keep all 6 of them.
Oh,
You
no.
know that you're not.
I can't. God.
You know that you're not going to keep them, so get over yourself.
I was saying you should give them a set of standard names so that maybe like condiments or something so they don't. So it's not
Theme
like
names.
personal.
Right, theme names.
I did think of, there's a lot of kinds of beans out there, right?
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Kidney, pinto.
Do not name a cat Kidney.
Do it. That's
want
actually...
that.
Okay, now I have to commit to this. You're going to have to meet Kidney Bean.
Okay, if his name is Kidney Bean, that's cute.
Last name Bean, first name Kidney.
Okay, what's the mom's name gonna be? Baked Bean.
I'm working on it. I'm
Okay.
still workshopping.
Okay. Alright, well, John has cats.
It's a lot.
If you want a cat, send us an email. We'll figure it out. If you're in another country,
We'll figure
send
it
us
out.
an email. We'll figure it out.
The U.S. Postal Service is cool with shipping kidneys...
Kidneys.
by freight, right?
Yeah, sure.
They'll just be like, sure, this is normal.
Yeah, I'd rather... No. Let's not do that.
Anyway, can you tell me what happened on New Mutants? Because we met the New Mutants for the first time.
Damn it, you ruined what I was going to say. Because I was expecting you to say what happened last time on X-Men, and I was going to say the New Mutants happened. But you already said, so I can't do that.
Yeah,
Well, you can still say the New Mutants happened. They did indeed happen.
that's
No.
most of what happened.
It is. Charles, I guess, decided to stop moping and make a new
team.
team. This time he decided that he wasn't going to turn them into super soldiers. He was just going to teach them. But also they do have X-Men costumes and they are working in the danger room. So they kind of are still child soldiers.
Look, you can take the child soldier general out of the man, but you can't take the man out of the child soldier general.
I'm not sure if that works. Yeah, so the New Mutants, there are 5 of them.
Correct.
One of them is Karma, who we met before.
Yep.
One of them is...
Cannonball.
Yeah, him.
that
He's
one.
like the famous one who started a lot of bad things in the future.
He's blasting.
He's nigh invulnerable when he's blasted, in fact.
Yep.
And there's Sunspot. I know his name. There's Wolfsbane.
Yep.
And I don't know...
Her name is Psyche.
Psyche, okay. I've never heard that.
She... Usually you hear her by her last name, Moonstar.
Danny Moonstar, yeah.
Yep.
That's a choice.
So it's them, and they are mutants, and
They're new.
They are new, and they all have tragic backstories.
Yep. At this point, how many mutants don't have tragic backstories?
I mean, that we know of.
Kitty seems to have a pretty
normal,
bland backstory so far.
Her parents are getting divorced. That's
fucking get over it.
Yeah. And welcome to the 80s.
She's very upset about it.
Well, get over it.
Girl, welcome to the 80s.
Also, she's like, what, like 14, 15? Girl, you're old enough to get over it. You can fucking deal with it, okay?
Your parents are getting a divorce. Oh no!
Oh no, what will you do? You don't even live with them right now. You're at boarding school.
What will you and half of the kids your age do?
Half the kids your age whose parents got divorced when they were way younger than you.
Yes.
Deal with it.
Yeah, you got to be old enough to realize what's going on.
That's her tragic backstory.
Yeah.
Whereas
Piotr doesn't have a tragic backstory.
You're right.
Really.
No,
Not
he
really.
doesn't. Unless you consider the Soviet Union tragic.
He's just a farm boy.
His brother died, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. His brother did die.
but that feels Russian in a not mutant tragedy sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
That feels more like Russian tragedy than mutant tragedy.
Well, yeah, but it is still tragic and part of his backstory.
That's true.
Like, we're not specifying the tragedy has to be related to being a mutant.
Whereas Aurora's backstory is, oh boy.
It's a lot.
That's,
anyway.
filled with tragedy.
We're off topic. I honestly could not tell you anything specific beyond that.
You know, don't even worry about it.
Okay. The New Mutants, they're here. That's all you really need to know.
Chuck is still moping a little, though.
Well, yeah.
If I remember right.
Yes.
He hasn't... Aren't there still all the rooms for all the quote-unquote dead X-Men?
Yes.
Yes, there are.
Like a grieving parent, he left all their rooms untouched, which, by the way, the mansion had to be completely rebuilt, so he made those rooms exactly as they were, and
then
ordered everyone to stay out of them.
Which tells you just how unhinged this man currently is. He rebuilt it from scratch, and now bans anyone from entering or touching anything in those rooms.
Which means all of Aurora's plants are currently dying. So anyway, one of the other things that happened was that everyone went through the danger room sequences.
Oh,
except for Danny, who freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny ran off.
Danny Ranny.
Danny Ranny.
No, too legally similar to Daniel Rand.
Sorry, it's been a while for me, too. But I didn't write up a summary for me for this one either.
Oh,
you fool, you fool!
Oh,
I wrote up one for the X-Men.
She ran away. The rest of them tried and failed, and then Danny ran away, and she was sulking, and then Rain was like, hey, are you okay? And she was like, no, and then the rest of them went
They're going to the mall.
To the mall. So Danny went back to the danger room, and then she did it.
Yep.
And then something happened.
She got stunned. And then the danger room sequence for the X-Men began.
Right. Yeah.
But also, when they were going to the mall, there's also some stooges for the government began following them.
Oh.
So that happened.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember it either.
Well, it did happen.
Okay.
So that's going to become relevant.
I do believe you. Why do these Sentinels only have 3 fingers?
Why are they blue?
They are blue. I'm more concerned about the 3-finger situation, frankly. Because
Great
colors
question.
on covers are not indicative
you're not
of
wrong.
anything,
You're not wrong. But its Sentinels also have canon colors so far.
Yes.
That-
Well, these are new Sentinels.
This is a new model. They
They're
cheaped
blue.
out. They cheaped out.
They cheaped out on the pinky.
Who
Yeah, we
needs?
can't afford 4 fingers.
Who needs all 5?
Can't
Who
afford
Who
all
needs another
4.
paint color, really?
I can't afford 4 fingers on our giant robot.
So, to start us off, we have New Mutants number 2 from December 1982, written by Chris Claremont, penciled by Bob McLeod, inked by Mike Gustovich, colored by Glynis Wein, and lettered by Tom Wojciechowski, with a cover by Bob McLeod. Danielle Moonstar flees from a monster in her now tattered costume. No tree or puddle seems enough to stop the creature in its tracks, but when Danny reaches a stone wall, she now desperately begins to scale it to safety, finding that the beast can't follow her. For a long time, Moonstar ponders her predicament. This training scenario was geared towards the X-Men. Someone is trying to kill her. She doesn't know who, but that can wait till she's out of here. Cautiously, she begins to edge her way along the stone ledge. But when she rounds the corner, she finds herself face to face with one of the creatures we know as the Brood.
Okay, who programmed this?
The menacing Brood Queen explains that Danny's abilities would have allowed her to sense it, and so she has to go bye-bye.
Huh.
The Brood then advances on Danielle, and she loses her footing, plunging back down to the hard danger room floor down below.
Ow.
As she dips to unconsciousness, she wonders if she is now off to be with her parents.
Oh,
Ooh.
dear. At the mall, God.
At the Salem Center Mall, the kids are exiting the cinema, just off of watching E.T.
Wow, yeah.
Rain is a little weepy, caught up in the movie magic, and Berto teases her for it just a little bit as the group head off for ice cream while Stevie heads off for a call back home.
I need to go on record saying E.T. is overrated.
I kind of agree.
I've never seen it.
I liked it when I was little, but I've rewatched it as I was older, and
I don't understand what the big deal about it was. I've seen it so many times because they showed it to me so many times as a kid. It's overrated.
So, as they're waiting on their orders, they encounter a group of lookalikes. One of them, Frank, wants to know just who they are.
Hang on. Lookalikes?
Well, I don't know why I said lookalikes.
You mean looky-loos?
Looky-loos. I don't know what the fuck Google did to my script.
It's that fantastic Google AI.
I love Google's AI. Don't you just love that big AI push that they're coming out with?
Anyway, one of these kids, Frank, wants to know who they are and why they've never met them. So Bobby explains. Frank's kind of a dick about them being private school kids, but another of the locals, Diana, diffuses things, explaining that they go to the local high school. The incredibly generically named Central High.
Wow.
I mean, I get it 'cause it's... no, I don't get it.
I don't get it. Why is there a central high school here?
Sorry, I'm just entranced by the flavors of ice cream on these posters.
No, because
Banana
it's
fudge.
Salem
Such as
Center.
No. It's banana fudge nut. And mint float.
Mint float.
Like a root beer float with mint ice cream? That sounds terrible.
I'd fuck with that.
I wouldn't.
I mean, it might not be root beer.
I don't know we don't know what it is, but it's a float, which makes me think root beer, but it might not be. But also, I can't think of any kind of float that would be good with mint ice cream.
I'd fuck with it if it didn't want to kill me.
I don't know. I don't trust it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Rain then introduces herself to Di, explaining that she's Scottish when they ask if she's a punk because of her hairstyle. This is somehow an acceptable answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Berto then volunteers all of their nationalities, joking that they're all international terrorists.
Huh?
Unaware that his every word is being broadcasted off to the Project Wide Awake Command Center.
Ugh.
The boy thinks he's making a joke.
Here, Henry Peter Gierich speaks with Sebastian Shaw, None too amused by DaCosta's little joke.
Sebastian Shaw's hair, and especially his sideburns, look like they're made of carpet and pasted on.
Maybe they are.
Like, the texture and how the thickness.
It's like it's his founding father's wig.
Right?
Maybe it is.
Could be.
Like, this is what he's been trying to portray all along, and we just never understood. Huh. This is an interesting concept that I've never considered.
Putting him in a more modern suit does not look right.
No, it really doesn't.
No, it is troubling. But on the other hand, the other idea is also troubling.
Everything about him is kind of troubling.
That's fair.
Anyway, he's none too amused by DaCosta's little joke, finding it to be the exact heart of the problem. They're from all over the globe, with who knows how many more out there. If other countries started developing mutants into super soldiers, and that's if they haven't already started, that would be a massive national security threat.
No, those damn foreigners.
How dare they have any kind of power to resist us?
They need answers on what's causing all these mutants. Which we already know, you fools. Mutants are caused by radiation.
You shouldn't have used nuclear weapons.
Or vaccines. It's one of those.
Vaccines cause mutants. You heard it here first, folks.
Garrick confesses that it was actually Berto's public manifestation that turned Project Wide Awake onto Xavier's new kids. But that gives Shaw an idea. Emmanuel DaCosta is a mover and a shaker, and already a member of the Hellfire Club.
Oh, great.
If Sebastian could somehow use this to draw DaCosta into the inner circle, that would be fab. The men then walk off to look at the new Shaw-made Sentinels. Shaw thinks it's overkill for dealing with some children, even as he internally cautions himself that they all managed to defeat Pierce. But Garrett assures him that no, the Sentinels are only to be used if needed against real threats like supervillains or particularly aggressive jaywalkers.
I mean, you can't allow jaywalkers to just jaywalk.
For these kids, he's going to have a team of agents cart them off to a special facility the government has cooked up to examine mutants.
Ooh, cool.
So they're being extraordinarily renditioned.
Yeah, cool.
A thing the government actually does. Don't you just love that?
Cool. Shaw's got some other plans, though. He wants X to die so he can snag the kids for the Hellfire Club. Cool. Stevie waits for either Danny or the professor to come to the phone, but she doesn't get that, or even the answering machine. Just the dull trilling of the ringing bell. Something about that strikes her as odd, even as she tries to reassure herself that it's probably nothing. Just then, a hand is wrapped around her mouth, and the dance teacher is dragged into a nearby storeroom. Her captor bids her to stop struggling, promising that he means no harm, and is in fact here to help the New Mutants, as the kids are in grave danger.
I'm not making a first good introduction.
Once Stevie agrees not to make a scene, her attacker releases her, introducing himself as Colonel Michael Rossi of the Air Force Intelligence. Anybody remember anything about him?
Not at all.
Do we know him, huh?
We've seen him briefly, and heard about him a little bit. The panel helps us out a bit. Once upon a time, he was Carol's boyfriend, sent out to investigate Stephen Lang's Project Armageddon when he was shot out of the sky and presumed killed.
Cool.
Oh, boy.
Rossi then begins to tell Stevie about the sitch. Meanwhile, out in the mall, the kids are getting invited to a dance at Central High. Or at least they were, up until the feds decided to show up and ruin everything. Sorry, you're not invited. You're a little out of the age demographic. Since they can't come to the dance, they instead ask the New Mutants to come along with them. This makes Sean very nervous. The cops back home, very much including her Uncle Nguyen, not to be trusted.
She understands. She is correct. Do not trust these people.
But she's not sure what to do, especially with so many people around. At 3 years older than the next oldest, the rest listen to Sean. So nervously, they follow the agents to the parking lot, hoping Stevie steps in with an assist. She doesn't disappoint. Hunter and Colonel Rossi pop out from behind a nearby car, instructing the agents to freeze, and the kids run. The latter listen, the former don't, immediately calling into headquarters for a contingency plan.
Oh dear. That's bad.
Rossi barks for the kids to run as he continues to fire on the agents, his gun set to stun, assumedly for comics code reasons.
That sure looks like a thing that can be set to stun.
The kids do not, however, run. Cannonball instead destroys one of the Fed's sedans.
Also set to stun.
Another tries to make a break for it in a second car, but Berto sunspots up to crumple the hood to scrap metal while Karma watches his back.
And Berto, crumpling the front end of this car, also, again, set to stun.
Non-lethally.
Mm-hmm. He definitely didn't crush that man's legs in doing this.
You know, that's non-lethal.
Yeah.
That leaves just the team leader. He too attempts to make a break for it, but Wolfsbane springs at him, and he decides that he's now done resisting. Good girl, please don't hurt me.
Oh hey, that really was set to stun.
Rossi's about to cart the lot of them off to the school to talk. I guess they're all gonna pile into Stevie's car, with the body scraping the ground.
They're gonna fit all these feds into the car?
Put him in the trunk.
Along with the kids.
So who's on the roof?
But suddenly the ceiling comes crashing in. Here comes that contingency plan. A big-ass Sentinel.
Again with 3 fingers.
And blue.
Did I say 1 Sentinel? I meant 3 Sentinels.
Oh, shit.
Despite all the ruckus the New Mutants are causing, the Sentinels are primarily focused on disabling Rossi. Quickly hitting him with sleeping gas. Recognizing the danger, Cannonball kicks it on, blasting the Sentinel back out through the hole.
Nice. Although, I'm a little shocked this building can withstand multiple Sentinels on the roof at all.
Especially after the roof damage.
Yeah, these things look pretty heavy.
They've got to get out of here, but rather than flee, Roberto tries to buy the others some time to get Colonel Rossi out of the garage by running off to help Sam. Unfortunately, he's bitten off a bit more than he can chew. One moment he's sprinting up the ramp to help, the next a massive pair of metal hands come crashing through the roof, cutting him off. And worse, he feels faint again. His powers won't kick on. He needs the sunlight to fuel him. He does the most reasonable thing and jumps through the wall of the parking structure.
The concrete wall.
He just Kool-Aid Man's through the wall.
Forgetting that he is 3 floors up.
Boy.
You know, if the Kool-Aid Man did that, he'd die.
All of his juice would come out, and then he'd be dead.
Assuming he doesn't just shatter when he hits the ground.
You know, what happens if all the Kool-Aid Man's juice comes out?
He pours it into cups for people to drink.
I don't like thinking about that. Wait, are you drinking his blood? Does he also want
his
you...
life essence.
Does he also want you to eat his flesh?
Are you saying he's Jesus?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm saying Kool-Aid Man might be Jesus.
Okay.
His flesh as in glass? Because that would be terrible.
Well, then you just haven't received a proper blessing.
I don't want that, because that would be glass.
Eat it.
Rain in particular, in the face of her budding crush, watches in horror as DaCosta plunges towards the ground, crunching home on a parked car down below. Luckily, due to his enhanced strength, he's okay, pulling himself from the wreckage to square up with the robot once more.
Rip to that guy's car.
Yeah, fuck that guy, I guess.
You know, the insurance will probably cover this, but those rates are just going to go up.
If he's got superhero insurance.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about this many times.
Are they superheroes?
I think it would count.
Damn.
I mean, the insurance company might argue that it doesn't count, but I don't think any court in the land would.
Oh, but then that might be covered under your regular auto.
Ah, see? There you go.
See, that's the thing. The fight would probably be between your auto insurance and your superhero insurance. Because I imagine superhero coverage is a separate coverage for all your things related to superhero damage.
Okay.
Because there's gotta be a way for them to milk more blood from the stone.
Right.
And superheroes are that.
Right, okay. Got it.
The Sentinel doesn't think Sunspot can damage him, but Bobby thinks otherwise. And he lifts the Sentinel by 1 foot, accidentally upending it into the mall.
Well,
Uh-oh.
I'll tell you, the mall definitely has superhero insurance.
Luckily,
The fandom zone.
Luckily, everyone inside seems okay, so Berto presses his advantage while he's got it, tearing the robot's head from its shoulders.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I see. He also set his powers to stun.
It's a robot. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but see, everyone's fine.
I love the illustration of him tearing the head off of it, honestly.
Yeah, it looks pretty neat, all the internals.
Yeah.
I like the fandom zone.
I like that there's a Spencer's.
There is a Spencer's there.
Oh my god.
There is a legally distinct Spencer's. It's just
Next
Spencer.
to the fandom zone, that's Hot Topic!
Back with Cannonball, he's managed to tear into the Sentinel a little bit, but only a little. He's not ready. He's not ready when the Sentinel hits him with a Frigibeam, freezing him solid for carrying convenience.
Frigibeam?
Frigibeam.
That is a stupid name.
That is a stupid name, but that is what it is called.
It
Cool.
is called that.
Freezing him solid for carrying convenience.
Oh, God.
Like a Go-Gurt.
The girls watch him go, feeling helpless, but Karma gives one desperate last-ditch effort, reaching out for his mind. With the ice coating him, it takes all of Shan's concentration, and she's unable to wake him. But what she can do is wake his powers,
Oh, boy.
sending both Guthrie and the Sentinel streaking up into the atmosphere. The problem being it takes all her concentration to manage this strain against the Frigibeam, leaving Shan unable to defend herself against the last Sentinel. Rain's the last one here to protect her, but Colonel Rossi's got other ideas, sending her off to find the head agent. The new plan is for Karma to possess him so he can call the robots off.
You know, this thing's not got very good aim.
Yeah, it kind of zorps a beam right between them.
Yeah.
Just some sort of beam that goes vorp.
Just your typical beam, you know. We all know about beams. We know
So-
about them from Thor.
But is that covered under superhero insurance?
Yes.
But this isn't a superhero.
Yeah, that's not a superhero.
Well, yeah, but Sentinels belong to the government, don't they? So.
Yeah, which isn't really superhero business.
Well, no, but like.
It's here dealing with the superhero, though.
Yeah.
Then that's the question. Does the government fighting superheroes get covered under superhero
Yes,
insurance?
I would say yes.
Okay.
That all comes down to if we consider the New Mutants superheroes yet.
That's the trick. Otherwise, this is gonna be covered maybe under basic insurance.
I guess it depends on if it's actually called superhero insurance or if it's like
Superhuman
like
insurance.
yeah, or like enhanced insurance protection against fucking enhanced people or whatever. you
Man,
know?
DC has this convenient term,
Metahuman.
metahuman.
Marvel also uses metahuman, but it's very specific. So a metahuman is kind of the opposite of a mutant. It's basically a human who got powers
But
in other ways. So like Spider-Man
But
is
this is
a metahuman.
one of those times where having a catch-all term would be really convenient.
It would be, yeah, but...
But alas, we don't know what people are. They're all different things.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's just a guy in a suit.
I mean, that's life, baby. Sometimes it's just a guy in a suit.
Well, anyway, dutifully the girl races off to retrieve the head agent while Rossi and Stevie work out how to protect Sean. At least they're not alone there. Berto's back from the mall, Not quite ready for more, but there nonetheless. There's one small kink in their plan. If Sean grabs the agent, they lose Sam. If not, they potentially lose both. Some choice. A blast from Rossi draws the Sentinel's primary focus, and I guess they don't have to worry so much about protecting Sean anymore.
I'm gonna assume this was not set to stun.
I assume not. Just then, Cannonball wakes up, miles above the ground, no longer frozen due to the friction of his climb. He can't breathe well, and he still can't break loose, but he's still the guy behind the wheel, so he decides if the thing can survive an impact crater like he can.
Oh, man.
Hey, it's a good bet! Which one of us can take a beating more?
As we know, Baby Boy's not the best at steering. So I don't know if it's intentional or dumb luck that brings his Sentinel smashing home into the remaining one.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's definitely dumb luck. That's an accident, 100%.
But it's impressive nonetheless.
I really love the Sentinel's dumb face in that first panel.
Oh? This isn't supposed to be happening. My programming has nothing for this.
Rerouting.
Turn left in 5
seconds.
Nope, you turn around at next intersection.
Make a U-turn, if possible.
With that kind of mess, the police are quick on the scene, where they encounter federal agent John Ogilvy, singing like a bird, even ratting on his superior. The cops cart him away as the New Mutants sit troubled in Stevie's car. Shiana is very upset about having been made to use her powers like this, feeling it all too reminiscent of how her brother Tron would use them.
To save a friend?
No, to make this cop talk.
Ah.
Yeah, the agent.
Ah.
Yeah, no, he didn't do that of his own
Willingly.
free will.
When the group returns home, they find Danny lying still on the danger room floor. Her friends all rush to her side, concerned about her, but she begins to stir, quickly babbling out the story of what happened to her. At first, Stevie's full of consternation for her irresponsibility in coming here alone, but that doesn't last long as she realizes Charles is the only one who could have disabled those safety interlocks. Meanwhile, Chuck sleeps. The image of the still-growing Brood Queen forms up around his body, just waiting for its time.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Because, yeah, he also got an egg in him.
And he seemed to be better?
No, he just stepped out of his trance, that's all.
No, he just had, like, that whole, thing where he was remembering being in Israel. Tug's collar. And then he woke up and they were like, oh, he's fine. But then they didn't bring up the whole egg again, so I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
So how'd y'all like that?
Entertaining enough.
3.5?
3.5,
It
yeah.
was fine.
What do you think CMRO thought?
Sure. 3.
They're right with you guys, actually. 3.57.
Oh, nice.
It was alright.
So, next we have to change gears. Can you give me a rough idea where the X-Men were last time?
Dying in space.
Did Wolverine finally get to tell them why they were dying in space?
Yeah, that happened quite a while ago. No, they all found, well, Storm figured it out on her own, actually, and then ran away.
Right.
And then after Storm ran away, Logan finally told everyone else, hey, you're gonna turn into Brood babies, so deal with that, I guess. And then they basically decided they were gonna turn around and go back to kill Mama Brood, because fuck her. But then Storm showed back up, and also a space whale. And
Yeah?
Storm was like, I am the space whale now.
Yep. That is the end of the last one. So, points for that. So next up is Uncanny X-Men 166 from November of 1982. Written by Chris Claremont, penciled by Paul Smith, inked by Bob Wysek, colored by Glynis Wein, lettered by Tom Orzechowski, with a cover by Paul Smith and Bob Wysek. Dawn doesn't break on Madrazar. There is no dawn. This brood colony is too far from its sun for it to reach. But the day does eventually begin, and with it rises a hunting party. They've already managed to ensnare one of the great Akanti space whales, and they've already gotten to work wasting away the important parts of its brain with their slaver virus.
Ugh.
Suddenly, one of the brood notices a glowing light, growing even brighter. It's binary, bright as a blazing star, and with all the fury, as she burns through the colony, ready to avenge her dear friends, the X-Men, who she definitely almost killed herself.
Oh yeah, she did kind of space them as she burned her way out.
Unintentionally.
The brood attempt to fight back, but Carol single-handedly wipes the floor with them. Once the whole colony is in flames, she can turn her attention to the Akanti, speared on the brood's hunting barbs. She tries to free it, but it cries out to her instead for her to kill it, explaining telepathically that the effects of the virus are irreversible. Carol weeps as she strikes the beautiful creature down, furious at what she's become. Streaking off into space, she still seeks more vengeance, as much for what she's been forced to become, for the deaths of her friends, and now the Akanti. She nearly overflies Storm's astral form, hanging out in space.
Going my way?
Flirty.
You would ask that of someone who has practically become a god.
I mean, she has before.
Mm-hmm.
But it is enough to bring her screeching to a halt, just missing the cartoon sound effects. When she asks Carol for help, Care Bear's on board, and quickly follows along to Storm's Akanti, which we learn is just a baby.
Aww. It's only village-sized.
Binary's not particularly keen on getting Jonah'd, but after Storm's reassurance that she won't bite, Carol follows along. Well, Aurora explains, like with the X-Men, how she's become one with the Akanti, passing by the remains of her body, secreted away in a membrane in the mouth of the great star beast. That's not all it has tucked away. It is also Nom Nom the Zrishar, and woo boy does Carol feel some guilt for that explosive decompression business.
Whoopsie.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul, says Storm, who wasn't there for the event.
Right?
It's fine. You didn't hurt me. I wasn't even there.
Some of the others have some things to say about that, at least giving her some very light guff over very nearly spacing them. But largely they let it go to focus on their next course of action.
Her hair looks insane.
How did she get that much volume?
I think it just does that.
Yeah, I think it has to do with her new powers.
She was doing that before, too, so...
Yeah. Well, they let it go to focus on their next course of action, or they do after Kit Kat has another understandable freakout. But then it's on to their plan. They'd decided before to head off on Wolverine's suicide mission to kill the Brood Queen, but with Storm here, she has another proposition, which Scott finds a bit frustrating. Her embryo is gone. Easy for her to say they just give up.
Her brood embryo is gone. Is she even alive anymore?
Technically.
Can she be...
We just saw her.
Yes, but is that going to become a separate person who is herself again?
I assume so.
We shall see. But I assume so, yes.
Well, yes, so do I, but... Because I know the future.
Are you some sort of soothsayer?
Yes, you would be amazed what kinds of things exist in the world after the 80s.
Like me.
But that's not what she's saying. She merely has a different idea. But first she has to explain about the Akanti. A peaceful race, the Akanti have roamed the stars since time immemorial, living peacefully under the leadership of the Prophet Singer, the caretaker of the collective racial soul, up until the Brood attacked from parts unknown. They enslaved the Prophet Singer and prevented him from destroying his body upon death, and hence freeing the soul, grounding his body instead to serve as their throne city.
Ugh.
The Akanti can't be free so long as the soul remains trapped in the remains of the Prophet Singer. However, recently a new prophet singer was conceived, only for disaster to strike. The mother was infected by the brood slaver virus. With her precious cargo in utero, Mama Akanti did the only thing she could, giving premature birth to the baby before it too could be infected with the brood's cruel virus. The baby was in no state to take care of itself. That's when it ran into Aurora, and the pair were bonded, the Akanti healing her battered body, and Storm helping to steer and protect the youngster's immature mind.
That was some fortuitous timing.
Yeah.
In all of space, what are the odds?
Aurora proposes that they release the soul so that the Akanti can finally be free of the brood. It's not going to be easy. It's lodged in that same rough territory Logan was prowling through before. But the consensus seems to be that if the X-Men are going to die, this is something worthwhile to die for. And so Scott formulates a plan. Carol and Aurora draw the fleet away from the planet, while the rest of the X-Men covertly beam down to free the soul. Hike! Logan's not sure he's on board, though, proposing an alternate plan. Everyone but he and Carol stays on the Zri Shar. They can't risk anyone turning brood in the middle of the fight. That gets Psyche's ire right up, and he challenges Wolverine to just kill them now, if that's how he really feels about it.
Wow.
With trembling hands, Wolverine stands there for a long moment, considering his options before he pops his claws, and Kitty cries out in alarm, rushing between the two men. It doesn't immediately diffuse things. Scott keeps pushing Logan's buttons, insisting Kit Kat let him do what he does best. But she's insistent.
He might have done it, guys.
Scared as she is, Kitty wants to fight, and so Logan backs down, sheathing his claws. Not the leader Scott's plan it is, though he apologizes for taking charge again, which Aurora accepts, acknowledging she's not really leadership shape right now.
But I mean, they have a moment that isn't really a leadership moment.
The new question is if Aurora even can use her powers in this form. She thinks so, though if her body will survive the ordeal, she's less certain. But if it comes to that, she'll do what she must.
That hand-holding doesn't, to me, say, we're just friends.
I mean...
I know, but, like, you've been telling me all this time, and...
You're seeing it firsthand now, and it's different.
Yes! Yes, it is!
There's a difference between being told something or hearing something and seeing it.
Mm-hmm. Especially after they had this moment at the house a billion years ago.
The one with the salad?
Yeah.
Scott's dinner that he worked so hard to make that was salad and bread.
Between that and this, Scott has both moved on and not moved on, because it doesn't count in the same way as finding someone else out in the world.
A day later, the baby emerges in the throne world's atmosphere, dipping down to bounce off the corpse of the last prophet singer before ricocheting off of the atmosphere once more. The pursuing brood fighter slow as molasses by comparison.
God, I love its face. It looks like a ditto. The beady eyes. And the mouth.
That would be one big Pokemon.
I think it's so cute.
It's very cute, but it also...
It does look like a ditto, though. I see exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
It's a massive Pokemon.
While inside, the X-Men peel themselves out of their seats and head for the transporter room, ready for their roles. As Lalandra readies the transporter, Psyche frets over it, worried that they won't arrive safely. Lil insists she got it right, so the group head down to the planet with Kit Kat giggling a "Scotty, beam us down!"
Come on!
Meanwhile, as the X-Men begin their journey to the surface, the Brood give chase to the Akanti, taking Aurora's bait up into space and away from the planet and her friends. Inside the hive, one of the Brood gives the Brood Queen the lowdown on what's been going on with the Akanti. Something's different with this one, and that piques the Queen's interest. Recognizing it for what it is and the power it will give her over the few remaining Akanti, she orders the youngster captured. That's when she's interrupted by another telepathic call, exposing the X-Men's ruse. For as Logan predicted, unbeknownst to the others, one of the X-Men has begun their transformation. I'm taking bets on who if anyone cares to partake. Kitty was very defensive over the whole claws debacle.
Trying to figure out what symbol that's supposed to be.
No, I think that's a different thing.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go completely off the wall and say Kurt.
Peter? Not very talkative person.
Alright, well, we shall see. The Brood Queen denies her daughter's offer to take out the others. She wants them alive, after all, instead bidding her to wait while she sends the Huntsmaster down into the catacombs after them. Speaking of which, the underworld of the Prophet Singer's carcass is unpleasant, full of nasties, plant and animal alike. Scott picks at Logan again for making a remark about how much he dislikes the place, but then they're on their way, climbing through the rotten decay on the way to the soul at the base of the head.
Scott. It's Scott. That would be the obvious narrative choice. It's definitely Scott. And I think you saying Kitty was to throw us off. It's definitely Scott. 100% it's Scott. I was going to say Scott, but then I wanted to make a funny. But no, it is definitely 100% Scott.
And I can't keep my fucking face straight. Meanwhile, in space, the baby Akanti is beginning to tire. With the brood fast catching up, they're nearly in range to open fire when something fast and new enters their screens.
Ooh, boy.
They don't even get the chance to figure out what hit them before Binary unloads, blowing them out of the sky.
Get fucked.
So, like, if Binary ever goes back to Earth like this, nothing's going to be able to stop her, right?
I suppose so. Even in her fragile state, Aurora has to do something to help the infant. She really struggles to get her powers to obey her in space, but after a titanic effort she manages it, stunning one of the pursuing brood ships with a bolt of lightning. Down in the catacombs, each of the X-Men fight the creatures that inhabit the catacombs in their own way. They're each holding their own until one of the monsters launches itself at Kitty. At first she's slow to react, but it only takes up until she reaches the wall for her training to kick in. The girl phases harmlessly through the wall, albeit out of the fight. Meanwhile, Logan and Scott continue having problems, Scott continuing to needle him again, while Logan points out that it's getting pretty hard as they go on. He notices that Scott's been awfully quiet, not doing much in the way of leading, just fighting like hell. When Kit Kat's momentum comes to a stop, she finds that she's landed in a nest of some sort, complete with giant eggs and brood skeletons without any meat on their bones, just for that homey touch.
Well, sometimes you need a brood skeleton to make the room come together.
Why do they have all those bones in their head? Those bones seem superfluous.
I kind of assumed they were exoskeleton creatures.
Yeah.
Great questions.
Oh, no.
I mean, I just think that the 3 big spiky ones would probably be enough. They don't need those crisscrossing ones. That seems pointless.
I don't know. I figured they were just giant bugs. Why would they have an internal skeleton and... I don't know. What's going on with the brood?
But why does Kitty suddenly have an X on her forehead?
It comes and goes. I kind of really sort of hate it so much.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
No.
We are not consistent about her outfit.
With no interest in meeting the same fate, Kitty starts airwalking for the exits, ready to get out of there, unaware that something already watches her every move.
Ooh. Well, if it's something that eats the brood, then that might not be a terrible thing.
Well, it is for her.
Might be something that also eats Kitty Prides.
Well, yeah, but she can, phase through it. She'll be fine.
Yeah, but...
I'm not worried about her, to be honest.
Out in space, things have taken a turn for the worse.
Oh, dear.
Where initially she'd been a powerhouse, the brood's advantage in sheer numbers have now caught up with Binary. They managed to snare her with the same lines with which they snagged the Akanti, ready to flood her system with the very same slaver virus.
Oof.
And Storm, charged with the young prophet singer's safety, can't come to her aid. She's readying to run when salvation comes in the form of a ship dropping from warp speed. It's the Starjammers.
That's convenient, I guess.
Not the legally distinct Starjammers.
No.
Yep, down on the planet things aren't going so hot either. Scott must be tiring or something. His optic blasts keep missing. Only Wolverine's got suspicions of his own. He thinks his instincts are shot, which only furthers his suspicions. After catching his scent, he tackles his friend, taking a chance and tearing the visor from his face, revealing 2 brutified eyes.
That's really gross.
That is gross.
Anyway, I was right, and you owe me money.
You bet Kurt.
No. Well, I did initially, but then I changed, and I said it was 100% Scott. And I only said Kurt as a joke.
Jokes are what matters.
Okay. Alright, fine, I lose. But I win in my heart, and that's all that matters.
That puts him at point-blank range to get blasted. Colossus also catches a shot, as with the metamorphosis, Psyche can now fire at will with both eyes. Bad news for the X-Men, they're 3 down. The Majestrix takes charge, ordering Nightcrawler to move in to keep him busy while she takes care of business with her energy sword.
Oh, energy sword, the legally distinct energy sword.
Mm-hmm. I love the not lightsaber.
The Night Saber.
But the Empress is too late. The Huntmaster's cadre have caught up with them, opening fire from behind to knock the pair unconscious. And he and his men are not alone. So too has come the Brood Queen, with a nice reward for her favorite daughter. As soon as they capture Kitty, that is, she gets to help eat Wolverine, because we hate Wolverine, baby killer.
We hate Wolverine, don't we, folks?
We sure do.
Don't we, folks? Kitty, right now, is not having a great time, fleeing from the Brood. Her costume in tatters, she runs for her life, up until she trips.
Everyone's costume is always in tatters.
Look at Piotr's costume.
Yeah.
Showing that midriff.
More of it than usual, I guess.
Yes, even for him.
Yeah.
Things are looking grim as the Brood close in, grabbing her by the hair. The girl is too tired to phase, and it seems to be over when something catches the pursuing Brood by surprise and alarm. By the Black Nebula! It's a dragon!
Oh, shit.
With a mighty roar and a flare of flaming breath, it sends the Brood scattering. Even their best attempts to flee just leave them charbroiled on the catacomb floor. He's just a little guy.
Aww.
Slapping happily in front of Kitty's face without a trace of hostility. He's just got a taste for Brood. It's just like chicken.
Don't become a Brood now. That would be bad.
Suddenly a blaster shot rings out as another Brood enters the cavern, leaving the pair to dive for cover. They make it out unscathed, and the attack instead blows a hole through the rock behind Kitty. Guess they weren't set for stun.
Not this time.
But through that hole shines a light so brilliant that none of the 3 fight any longer. Instead they head into the light and song, or at least Kit Kat and the Brood do, moments later followed by a scream.
Don't go into the light.
The loss of the pack of Brood hunting young pride is quickly reported back to the Brood Queen, though she seems largely unbothered, instead gloating over the coming fate of the now captured X-Men. She's still at it when Scott screams in pain, his body still trying to resist the change. His optic blasts go wild, and he accidentally blasts the Queen.
Ha 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 ha.
Ooh.
Get fucked.
In the chaos, Wolverine spots his moment. He springs into action, leaping into the path of Psyche's optic blast. In the moment, Cyclops thinks he's killed him, but what he's actually done is freed him, blasting his shackles off.
Okay.
And more of his outfit. Also, basically, wow, we are seeing exactly how buff and hairy he is.
I mean, you say that as if we haven't seen it before.
I know, but...
Like, so many times.
But,
He's
you know...
always naked. Every issue he gets naked.
He's the nakedest X-Man.
And he's naked again.
I don't know, it's a toss-up. Is he the nakedest X-Man, or is Aurora the nakedest X-Man?
It's like senior superlatives. There's a girl and a boy who could win. At least that's how it was at my school.
Yeah, mine too.
I don't know how schools do that now, where more kids are openly non-binary.
Maybe you should just make it one person.
Yeah.
But then that means we have to choose between Wolverine and Storm.
I think that Storm would be the nakedest X-Man then.
I don't think so. I think it would be Wolvie, because he's naked pretty much every issue, and Storm isn't. Storm likes to be naked, but she's not naked more often.
That's incredible.
Wolverine ends up naked in fight scenes a lot.
Yeah. It's almost, honestly, it's almost homoerotic the way it's, and I say homoerotic because the creators of these comics were all men, except the colorist.
And they all chose to make him kind of squat.
They all constantly make him naked.
Yeah, he's naked, he's kind of squat, and he's not shaped. He's not an idealistic male shape.
You mean he's not shaped? He's the most shaped.
He is the most shaped.
You're right, but at the time, that would not have been a male ideal. He's a strong man.
Yeah.
He's not Arnold.
I mean, it was more acceptable then than it is now. But anyway.
With no time to waste, he decks the Scott brood, leaping across the room with him to place his claws at the Queen's head, threatening to kill them both if they don't reach for the sky. Next move, let the X-Men go. With that managed, they shackle the brood warriors in their place, Pop Psych's visor back on his face, and a set of restraints around his body. Then they get back on the road hunting for the soul, this time with the Queen in tow.
I love that they're doing the age-old Victorian act of trying to find where a soul lives in the body.
Yeah, but it's for real this time.
Yeah.
That's what every Victorian looking for the soul in a human body used to say.
Yeah, but it's for real this time.
I know. That's what's funny about it.
Yeah, but it weighs a different amount this time. Eventually they reach their destination, coming upon the Prophet Singer's soul, just like Kitty before them. They're also relieved to find her, safe and sound and free of the brood they also smelled. He was judged by the soul and found wanting and turned to crystal.
Ah.
Nice.
Kit Kat suggests due to this that they leave the Queen outside, but Her Majesty insists, so instead they proceed into the beautiful crystalline soul. The feeling of love seems to permeate the place for all but the sleazoid Queen. They look down and realize that an inky blackness radiates from beneath her feet, corrupting the soul.
Oh, fun.
Not just her either. Each of the brood-infected X-Men too leave their mark on the crystal surface. It's in this moment of chaos and confusion that the Brood Queen strikes, lashing out at Logan's exposed back with her stingers.
Ooh.
He cuts them off, but the blow and poison stagger him, leaving Logan weakly struggling back to his feet. But when he looks up, his eyes are met by horror. All his friends, mid-transformation. The Queen gloats over her corruption of the soul. Through this, they'll rule the Akanti willingly, and then the stars. But Logan won't let that happen. He's got murder on his mind. First his friends, and then hers. Things are looking wiping the blood from his mouth bad when Carol comes crashing into the rescue, scooping him up in her arms. He wants down!
He doesn't like uppies.
Want down!
Wolverine hate uppies.
Can't you see there's killing to do, woman? Can't you see the Akanti are in danger?
Can't you see he's nature's perfect killing machine, and the only problem is they made him so small?
The Queen taunts that even if they manage to kill the X-Men, Earth is doomed because there's still one final brood embryo they'll never destroy.
Uh-oh.
God damn it.
But Carol ignores her, reaching deep to the white hole that fuels her powers. The power builds and builds, radiating ever brighter through the cavern, until finally she's built up enough power, and the soul rockets off into space, reuniting with the infant Akanti in orbit. When all's said and done, Care Bear's pretty proud of herself, but Wolverine reminds her of the grim task at hand. They still have to kill the X-Men. Or do they? When they turn to look, they see the X-Men, normal as ever, purified of the brood embryos.
Mm-hmm.
And the foul brood queen herself, purified of everything.
Now take that home and put it on your lawn.
Get fucked.
Now a petrified figure of frozen crystal.
Seriously, that's a lawn ornament, if I ever saw one.
It's a very scary lawn ornament.
Suddenly, the planet begins to shudder and shake. Carol's eyes widen, realizing her powers must have done this. The planet's gonna blow! With little time to spare, she calls up to Corsair for a beam-up, while a bummed-out Kitty Pryde preemptively mourns her little dragon friend.
Aww.
Good call. Moments after they've left, Sleeve's world is no more.
You know what's neat? When, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot her name. Fucking Scott's ex. Dead ex.
Jean?
Yeah,
Jean?
Jean. I can't believe I forgot her name.
You forgot Jean?
Yes, I'm sorry. I forgot.
Oh my god.
I'm tired, okay?
Everybody make fun of John in the comments for forgetting Jean Grey's name.
Okay, but it's funny that when Jean killed a planet, she went on trial.
Carol's gonna get a parade.
Yes. Carol is actually going to get a parade.
Because fuck the brood.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much for the X-Men don't kill, though.
It's the
She's not an X-Men.
That's true.
She refused.
She said no.
Later in the Starjammer's medbay, the X-Men, sans Aurora, gather around Logan, who is being a bad patient for poor long-suffering Sikorsky.
I'm shocked that he's a bad patient.
Everyone else also tries their best to keep him in bed, but it's no use. He'll kill himself or die trying.
You know, I'm pretty
a little
sure...
too close to home, I think.
Meanwhile, Scott talks with his dad. He's having some trouble coming to terms with the destruction of a whole planet, which Chris gets. Still, he reassures his son that he did the right thing. He ultimately saved lives by taking them. Sometimes that's the sacrifice that has to be made. That's when Hepzibah arrives with a visitor. Aurora, here and in the flesh.
Ooh.
Yay. See, John?
Yeah, I mean, I figured.
She explains that she too was restored by the Akanti soul, who then asked her to stay. Missing her friends, though, Aurora chose to return to the X-Men. Everyone's ready to party up when Logan interrupts to be the bearer of bad news. According to the Queen, there's still one brood egg left and only one person who could be hosting it. Charles Xavier.
No way.
What?
Gasp.
You mean it's not Peter Parker for no reason?
How'd y'all like that?
Pretty good ending to...
4.
Sure. I'll join you in that 4.
I'm also at a 4. What do you think CMRO thought?
3.8?
4.
No, they're also at 4 too.
Oh, damn.
4.17.
4.1.
I win.
Wow.
And that's going to be it for the X-Men for us this week.
Wahoo.
Well, we've got you here in the middle. If you could help us out and press the buttons down below, that would be really helpful.
Just press whatever.
Yeah,
it's fine.
just all of them. One after the other, whatever, it doesn't matter what they do. Just
Keep
do
pressing
all of
them.
Like, subscribe,
No. You don't need to worry about what they say. Just press them.
hit
Press
the
'em.
bell button. They're all good buttons. We like them.
We love them.
Comment, just smash the buttons.
Yeah, smash all the buttons.
Don't worry about making coherent words. Just hit button.
Press button.
Yell at us for being gone so long and not explaining.
Please. It means you missed us.
Follow us on social media as well. Press those buttons.
Yep, we are on Tumblr, the social media formerly known as Twitter,
It'll always be known as Twitter.
Facebook.
I'm sorry, folks. We dead name companies.
Blue Sky, theoretically Instagram.
I'm sure someone's made that joke before, but we really need to start doing that.
I mean, yeah.
Given
that is absolutely a stolen joke by me, but
given Musk and all of his bullshit.
Companies aren't people. They don't have rights. And I don't care what the courts have said on that front.
Join our Discord. We include a link every week. If you'd like to support the show, throw us a few bucks over on coffee. We are Comicsplaining. And if you want to throw us an email, we're comicsplaining@gmail.com. Other than that, let us move on to Thor.
Can you guys tell me what happened with Thor last time?
No.
I'm trying. I promise I'm trying.
Try hard. Do you want a hint?
There was a guy who could turn people to stone.
The Great Gargoyle, yes.
There was a slave revolt.
He became a space pirate, but he doesn't want to be a space pirate anymore.
Well, he didn't want to be one in the first place, but yeah.
And now he's, trying to bail on the operation. But, well, he has Thor and company, who are just kind of wandering around in space aimlessly. Oh, they have a aim, but they don't actually know where they're going.
Right.
It's like...
They know where they're going. They don't know how to get there.
It's a place that's like the Black Galaxy, but not. It's another one of those places.
The Doomsday Star.
Yes, another one of those places.
Yeah.
I feel like that we have invented a category of place that's all kind of the same.
So what happened with the gargoyle? Ripley said there was a slave revolt.
There was.
That is true.
He got away.
Kind of.
By way of being spaced.
Yeah. He tried to escape, but then he got stopped by the Lion Man. And then they both died in space, probably.
Exploded because the gargoyle turned the controls of the ship to stone, and then it exploded for some fucking reason.
The Grey Gargoyle will appear again in Avengers Infinity War.
You will not.
So...
That's not true.
Well, he's not gonna be in fucking Infinity War, I can tell you that. And so then they dealt with that, and then they defeated the space pirates, and then they left.
Continued down their journey.
Yeah, but before they left, they took a couple things with them.
Some space cannons.
Yeah.
Some big honking space cannons, and we got some amazing art.
They pimped their ride.
They did, and they went found a space wall?
Well, also the recorder did a file transfer.
That
almost knocked him out.
They kicked the asses of some things that looked like some celestial guards.
But weren't.
No.
And they found a space wall.
Yeah, a wall. A planet with a wall around the planet.
Went through the wall.
Because you couldn't go above or below.
Yeah.
Why?
Because of things.
Because things were in the way.
Yeah.
Things and stuff.
Yeah.
This sounds unhinged, but it was an unhinged issue.
It is. It sounds that way because it is.
Yeah. Usually when I describe stuff like that, I'm doing a terrible job describing things, but no.
That's what it was.
That's actually what happened.
So they got inside.
And then started being attacked by some guys in some spider robots.
Yeah, in power armor.
Who thought they thought they might be the chosen ones if they can do something. I was a little unsure about that.
They were testing their abilities, basically.
They were being tested. And then the spider robot guys beat them up.
Mm-hmm.
And they passed the test?
Well, half of them did.
Yeah, they exploded pretty much the whole world on
the whole
top
city.
of them.
It was beautiful.
It was gorgeous. The art was really good.
Guys, this is an issue for the ages, but only because of how gorgeous the art is.
Yeah.
Half of them survived and were captured. The other half of them just survived.
Yeah, so Volstagg, Hogan, and the recorder got a building exploded on them. And everyone was like, they're dead! And then at the end, they popped up out of the rubble and were like, well, guess we gotta rescue our friends now.
They were not, in fact, dead.
The others got captured, and that was basically it. So what else happened on Asgard, though? Because things were happening.
Revolutionary Balder is protecting against an army.
Right.
Except it's a fake army.
Yes.
Right.
But not quite the fake army in the way we thought it was a fake army.
Right.
It was a fake real army.
Right. Who was leading it?
The Executioner and... I want to say his girlfriend, but...
I mean...
Enchantress.
You're not technically wrong.
Except they're being propped up by...
Yeah.
A mysterious, horned...
as someone that we've never seen before.
A green-wearing robe person who is shrouded in darkness.
They weren't horned.
Oh, right. This time he's not wearing horns.
No.
Right. Whoever they are.
What do you mean this time? We don't know who they
Whoever
are.
this is, they're not wearing horns. This time.
So
this isn't a horn wearer.
So Balder and Carnilla ended up fighting the Executioner and the Enchantress.
And kicked their asses.
And then?
Thor
showed
up.
Oh.
I was like, I'm gonna kill you.
No, he was like, the real enemy has invaded already. Let's go inside.
Well, at first he was like, I'm gonna kill you.
Well, yeah, that's true. It was mixed messages for sure.
Yeah. Now we have another Thor. We have a different Thor, a worse Thor.
The Thor we have at home.
Literally, because he's at Asgard.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was Loki behind it the whole time. Shocking no one. So, yeah, that's essentially what happened. And we're going to start off reading Thor number 262 from May of 1977. Written by Len Wein, penciled by Walt Simonson,
Ooh.
Inked by Tony DeZuniga, colored by Glynis Wein, lettered by Joe Rosen, and the cover art is by John Buscema.
Okay, how long do we get to keep Walt?
Not a super long time.
I know we get him for keeps for a while.
Well, not for a bit.
No, I know, but I know it's not for like a decade, but when we get him.
When we get him, we'll have him for a bit. So this is the situation. Thor, Sif, and Fandral are being held captive by these guys called the Soul Survivors. And that's soul as in S-O-U-L, who claim that they will worship them, but in kind of an ominous and threatening way.
Yeah, there was something very weird about the challenge vibe.
Mm-hmm. Safe to say, Thor is fairly put out about this whole situation, and he strains against his bonds despite his captors warning him of the futility of such an action. He gives a rousing monologue, pulling at the cuffs with all his might as lightning crackles between his hands. And if I had a soundboard here, I would play the whammy noise. As it turns out, yeah, he's not going to be able to brute force this situation, and he's wasting his energy.
He can't break these chains.
We literally just had this exact sequence of events in the last story.
Len, did you forget what you wrote?
No.
Or are you reminding us?
No, I think he's just doing it again. The Soul Survivors, these two guys, who are named Karil and Nagil, which are dumb and hard to say, so I'm going to call them Carl with a K and Nigel. They're quite impressed by the attempt, and so Thor prompts them to begin the exposition segment of the comic by explaining their whole deal.
At least it looks gorgeous.
Yep, that's Walt.
Like, these guys look suitably weird.
They are very weird looking.
Like, this is the first weird aliens that have felt weird that are alien that I think we've met in Thor.
Yeah.
Most of the time we run into, like, rock people or humans.
I mean, the last time we met a ship full of aliens, they were just people who were blue.
They have different proportions to their faces.
Yes.
It's great. I love it.
They're funky. The Doomsday Star was once part of a confederation of planets, which were all super good and cool and blah blah blah. This one in particular was the best one, and it was called Temple World, because yeah, it had temples on it.
That's a reason.
Creative.
They took all the treasures and sacred items from the planets in the Confederacy and put them on this one planet to have, like, a centralized worship place.
Yes, this is Confederacy. Everyone did this willingly, I'm sure.
And that included their actual god, the one above all.
Ah, so they just kind of parked a god here.
Yeah. So the one above all is like a giant robot-looking guy with a teeny tiny head.
Hold on. Isn't that a name for somebody else?
Like who?
Or am I confusing...
There is something in Thor Future called something like that, but it's completely unrelated.
Okay.
Just like how we had another executioner before, and it was completely unrelated.
Look, sometimes you stumble into something super important at random here, and sometimes you just stumble into something with the same name as something super important.
The one above all, are we talking about at the very top, tippy top of, like, the Marvel mythological hierarchy?
That's what I was thinking, but it'd be funny to run into whatever that is here.
Yeah, it would be.
It would be, especially given what happens with this guy. The Soul Survivors say that they worshipped him, and in return he physically powered the planet. But then one day they got invaded.
Ant people.
This keeps happening.
Ant people, I tell you, it's ant people. Ant people are very good at dealing with gods.
I fucking wish it was ant people. It's actually a whole army of space bozos who come to destroy the Confederacy for reasons. This seems like a great opportunity to introduce an antagonist of some sort to make the story more interesting or different from every other Thor plot. But Carl with a K says that the invaders were a wide variety of different races, including Kree and Skrull, somehow also the Badoon. And we don't know why they attacked, because all he says is that they spoke with one voice, and their words were our Confederation's epitaph.
You know, if you've managed to get the Skrulls and the Kree on one side of a disagreement...
That's a big deal, but it's more a big deal to me that the Badoon are there. Because they don't work with anyone.
So these people were evil? They were capital E evil. These were,
seriously.
like, you know...
Everybody wanted to kill them.
They talk about moving all this religious stuff to one world as if this was... I was joking that they were doing imperialism, but with that alliance, no, they really were doing, like, the worst kind of things you can imagine a spacefaring civilization can do.
So, we don't really know what the fuck was happening. Carl with a K is not a good narrator. But luckily, Temple World had protection at its poles in the form of the meteor shower and cosmic storm we saw before. I guess those are naturally occurring features.
Wild.
So the one above all created a wall around the middle of the planet, which meant they were completely protected. Yay! So the invaders decided to just ram their faces into the wall until they were all dead. Double yay! But somehow this depleted the one above all's godly strength and he died. Not yay.
That's
Aww.
unfortunate.
They made him a sarcophagus and shot him into space, but then they had nothing to power the planet. Obvious conclusion, steal other people's gods and force them to be backup generators.
Guys, this is why the Kree, the Skrulls, and the Badoon wanted you dead. It's this kind of stuff.
I'm not sure how they accomplished this. Carl says that a bunch of them died in the process, but that they were able to capture gods over and over somehow. But every single one they got eventually ran out of power and died, which leads me to a very important point. The space graveyard we saw in the last issue that looked super cool and we thought were Celestials were in fact just all the gods that the Soul Survivors plugged into their world to keep the lights on. I don't know why they all looked like Celestials. It seems like a weird choice. I guess...
Maybe Celestials are gods.
Well, they are.
Yeah.
Categorically they are.
So, hey, you know...
No. They're not talking about Celestials. It was a complete coincidence. And I guess you could argue that that's just, like, the Soul Survivors' cultural style, because they were the ones who made those sarcophagi. But it clearly isn't, because look at the way these dudes are dressed.
I like his, like,
his neck
Shakespearean neck ruff.
I really don't understand the weird clashing design going on. I don't get it.
I'm wondering who decided that.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure you've all put the pieces together and are wondering how they got their hands on Odin without anyone noticing. Carl says that it was a fucking accident. When they just happened to intercept his teleportation from Midgard to Asgard some fucking how.
That's our answer. We've been wondering, where did Odin go? Here. How?
Accident. You know, it's not that I really want to keep harping on how everything in these Thor comics doesn't make sense. It feels repetitive and pointless, and I wouldn't bring it up if I didn't have to. And I have a pretty good suspension of disbelief because I'm used to reading a lot of fantasy, so it's not even like I think everything needs an explanation. I'd be happy if they just didn't bother. My problem is when they give half-ass explanations, or explanations that don't make any goddamn sense. Most of the time, whatever shitty explanation the writer gives us just raises 50 more questions, and it's really hard to ignore. Len, buddy, you could save us all a lot of time and energy by not attempting to justify anything.
But he needs to.
And so because he was a good boy during story time, the Soul Survivors decide to let Thor and the others stretch their legs. They don't get released per se, but their cuffs kind of unhook from the base that they're standing on, so they can at least walk around.
Yay!
Someone, however, did not do a very good job drawing that in this last panel.
Yeah.
Someone. Whoever could it be?
I mean...
Okay, but we have a different person on pencils and inks, so it could have been anyone. Any of them.
Also, do you really think the instructions are particularly clear?
No.
Because the story is all over the map.
Outside, we reconnect with the boys as they eye up the Golden Tower and form a plan of attack. It seems pretty clear to Hogan that their friends are being held captive in there, and they'll need to get inside. Volstagg has some concerns that I won't bother to give details on, because just then another of those long-legged sentry robots shows up.
Man, that's a good dynamic panel.
The recorder scans it and can't sense a living pilot, which means it's just a drone. He concludes that it was sent to find and destroy their remains, which is pretty dark. Despite being an unmanned drone, the sentry immediately notices them and goes on the attack. Probably because the recorder was talking about it at full volume.
Of course. Guy doesn't really know when to be quiet.
No.
To destroy their remains seems pointless.
A little bit, yeah. Indeed, it is the android himself who is immediately snatched up by a metallic tendril,
Yoink.
leaving Hogan to vow to free him. And Joe Rosen doesn't know how to spell Rigelian.
Woohoo!
Rigelian.
Rigelian.
Of course, Volstagg tries to run away and blunders face first into another of the robot's spindly legs, unbalancing it and sending it to the ground. You can pretend that was an accident all you want, Len, but I know the Lion of Asgard's signature body slam when I see it. At this point, I'm convinced that we rarely see Volstagg with a weapon because he just doesn't need one.
He is the weapon.
He's constantly body-checking people, literally.
He is a living weapon. Every inch of his body can be used to destroy an enemy.
It just seems to
there
me...
are many inches.
It just seems to me more like he's a wrestler or like an MMA kind of guy. He uses his girth to his advantage, and I respect that. Anyway, once the robot is on the ground, Hogan doesn't hesitate to deliver a decisive blow, shattering the body with his mace. Carl and Nigel lead the Asgardians to the end of their quest because they're super cool and nice guys.
Uh-huh.
And of course, what I mean by that is they show Thor his dad, motionlessly plugged into a giant glowing machine in the shape of an Asgardian funeral barge.
Oh, fun!
So
That's a hell of a page!
It's a lot, yeah.
Hey, at least he has a new fit.
He does. They gave him a new fit. As you can imagine, Thor is totally cool and not upset about this.
Yeah, no, he's chill.
The God of Thunder begins yelling at his captors, swearing vengeance upon them for this indignity. Sif tries to calm him down, while below, Odin stares forward. His unflinching gaze and lack of movement don't seem to be a ruse, but he does have some sort of awareness, as he thinks to himself that he knew Thor would come, because he is his father's son. And even when he's proud of Thor, it's actually about him, because Odin is an abusive narcissist, and I will fight anyone about that.
But you know what's funny about this? The Odin who seems to be the guy with all the angles, who knows every side of everything that's going to happen, I don't see him here. Mm-hmm. No, this is an Odin who's being used as a fucking battery.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's done, they'll throw him away like they did the others.
Sif and Fandral manage to calm Thor down by reminding him that there's nothing he can do right now, so he'd be better off conserving his energy and his outrage until he can do more than just yell about it. As they have this conversation, Nigel calls Carl's attention to a nearby monitor. Carl with a K is most impressed by what he sees. Hogan, Volstagg, and the Recorder, previously thought dead, are not only hale and whole, but now climbing up the side of the building. I would love to know how they decided on this plan, but it's going to remain a mystery. The Asgardians are indeed all that was expected, and more. Perhaps these ones, too, will earn the worship of the soul survivors.
Aha, the worship, fun.
Yeah, that's the language they've been using the whole time. I find it interesting that none of them bring up the fact that the Recorder is just a robot. And I know I was just complaining that Len feels the need to justify everything, but I don't think one little, "and what about the robot, sir?" would go amiss here.
Though, you know what? I'll bet you anything. If they plug the robot in, it'll work, because they'll worship him.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good argument.
I mean, it's not something Lynn thought of, but
no,
it's
definitely not.
Better than it.
Anyway, Odin is like, "Even my power won't last forever, but with them here, maybe something will happen."
Well, better happen, otherwise this is going to be kind of a boring story.
So let's check in on Asgard. Everyone's favorite messy couple are following fake Thor through Asgard, as he has claimed he will lead them to the true enemy. However, they've been running around for a while, and things are starting to look a mite bit sus. Mostly in the fact that this section of the city is eerily empty. Carnella points this out, and even Balder has questions, though they seem to mostly revolve around Thor's sense of direction. Uneasy though he is, our favorite Disney prince is simply not prepared for this level of subterfuge. He turns his back to Thor, and it is then that the Pretender strikes. A heavy blow to the back sends Balder down, but then there's Carnilla to deal with. She casts spells with fury and skill, but she is simply outclassed and easily defeated. I don't remember Loki ever being significantly stronger in magic than her, but I guess they are now, so whatever.
Also, I guess Balder can just be hurt. Sure.
No one remembers.
Yeah.
Except for in that one time in Tales of Asgard.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the only time it's ever been brought up.
Guys, you need to remember, he's basically untouchable.
Like, Stan went out of his way to do that in Tales of Asgard, and then nobody ever since then, including Stan himself, has ever done anything with it.
Why did he do that?
I don't know.
We could ignore it if he hadn't done that, but he did it.
Mm-hmm. You could just say it's not canon, or it hasn't happened yet, maybe. But no.
Ooh, that would actually be good. It hasn't happened yet.
But it has.
Yes, it has. That's the problem.
Like how Carnilla's like, "Oh, you fucked with Balder? No, hell no. Fuck you."
I mean,
Fuck
that's
you,
my man!
Fuck you, lightning bolt.
Meanwhile, on Temple World, we see the boys climbing that tower to rescue their friends. It seems like it's going well, though again, I'd love to know how and why they decided that this was their best plan.
Well, the gang isn't exactly bright.
True.
The Recorder seems to be down for whatever,
Yeah,
so...
he kind of just does whatever they're doing.
So, you have these guys thinking, what if we climb that?
And he's like, "Do it, I dare you."
That would be so great for my numbers right now.
Exactly.
Like you have no idea
Exactly.
what that would do for my numbers right now.
Yeah.
I would get so many people watching.
I guess it doesn't really matter, because the Recorder calls out a warning about an incoming flock of creatures. Hogan calls them carrion birds, but they're more bat-like than anything. And if they were carrion eaters, they'd just be waiting for you to die, not wasting their energy on attacking you. Well, the trio manages to scramble up onto a conveniently placed ledge, where Hogan begins shouting and fighting, because that's famously what he's known for. He does pretty well, up until he gets distracted by shouting, and one of the creatures grabs him from behind.
Dang it.
They're keen on getting to that carrion a little quicker.
They need the carrion now.
The recorder is about to run in, but Volstagg beats him to it because nobody gets to attack one of his best friends without consequences.
Hey!
Before the beast can escape to the skies, the Lion of Asgard wraps it in a powerful bear hug and squeezes it until they all hear a sickening snap. More proof from my Volstagg as a wrestler or an MMA fighter theory.
Volstagg is the weapon.
So Hogan's okay. And he says that this is the first time Volstagg has done something like this, but come on. We've seen him fight before, we've seen him protect his buddies, and we've also seen his buddies jump to protect him, which frankly I don't believe would happen if he really was as useless as Len and other writers make him out to be. I much prefer to think that their dynamic works because Fandral and Hogan know exactly what Volstagg is capable of, and that they can rely on him in a pinch.
Yes, they've got his back, he's got theirs.
And he's
Exactly.
maybe one of the most dangerous of the three. He's the most indestructible.
Returning to the scene inside, Thor approaches his father, begging to speak to him after all this time. Weakly, Odin acknowledges him and apologizes for everything that the God of Thunder went through to get here. Off to the side, Carl with a K and Nigel note with concern that their battery is draining a lot faster than they thought it would.
Oh no.
Try turning off notifications and dim the screen. And for God's sake, close those background apps. You don't need Candy Crush running 24/7. So the All-Father bids his son rise and stand proudly as the new ruler of Asgard. A statement which Thor finds quite alarming.
That's gonna do him a whole lot of good here.
He says that Odin will live to see their captors defeated, but Odin himself bids him to forgive the soul survivors, for they know not what they do. I'm pretty sure they know exactly what they do because they've done it dozens of times before, but okay.
I mean, they've watched this happen how many times?
They've got a whole graveyard
Right.
wrote.
I think they know exactly what they're doing. Odin gives one last gasp before falling silent, which of course prompts Thor to immediately don his bear shirt and Hulk out of his shackles.
Hey, Odin, did you just fake death for this? Because you knew Thor had this in him? Because that would be on brand.
That would be excellent.
He then frees Fandral, who in turn frees Sif, and at that very moment the other half of the party comes busting through the wall to save their friends. The five of them pose together for a moment before rushing in to claim vengeance. Though at this rate, they may not be able to get a hand on that particular ball. Deep in the grips of his berserker rage, Thor is mowing through the armored aliens like it's his fucking job. His fury is echoed by his comrades, and things are looking pretty bad for the soul survivors. So bad, in fact, that Carl with a K thinks they just might perish here, unless...
Unless...
The two of them sprint away up a staircase, while ominously talking about what they're going to do. Even though they slurped up all the Odin force out of Odin like a juice box, Carl says they have just enough left to use something called the Spirit Mold. He straps himself into the machine while expositing that he will give form to the Odin force and control it. Sounds pretty cool.
It sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah, but it sounds cool. Downstairs, the armored aliens are retreating. No time to celebrate. Thor plans to carry Odin's body to safety before coming back to complete his divine vengeance.
He would too.
Just at that moment, however, the living embodiment of the Odin Force busts on in. And I gotta say, I don't hate the design. It's very Silver Age, but it's like if Odin was made of pure energy, which is what you'd imagine it should look like.
It's got a hat.
It does.
Does this count as a fit for Odin?
It's got a hat, it's got a beard made of energy.
But does it count as one of Odin's fits?
I don't think so, no.
No.
No. So what would you guys rate this issue?
Prettier than the ones we were dealing with before.
Well, yeah.
But
2.5.
But that doesn't save it. Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah. Alright, what do you think it's rated on CMRO?
3.
2 3/4.
3.51.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, they were generous.
Glad to see Odin dead.
I mean, that is a reason to be generous.
Alright, well, let's go on to Thor number 263. From June of 1977. Written by Len Wein, penciled by Walt Simonson, inked by Tony DeZuniga, colored by Glynis Wein, lettered by John Costanza, and the cover is by John Buscema. Again, let's take stock of the situation. Odin is dead because the sole survivor sucked all the juice out of him. Thor used his bare shirt to break his shackles, and the group got back together. Things were looking good for them escaping, but then Carl with a K used a machine to create a living embodiment of the Odin Force, which sounds bad. This is serious.
Well, hey, this is also an opportunity to put the Odin Force back in the Odin.
You think?
Yes,
That's
I
a good
think.
idea. That's a good idea, John. So this is very serious. So of course the recorder, doesn't really seem like he does anything.
Well, yeah, he's making sure he can...
According to him, he ramps up his circuits so that he can record this super duper good.
Yeah, he's being overwhelmed by viewers and commenters.
I'm not sure what it means. I think it's just an excuse to keep him out of the fight that's about to happen. Also, his face disappears in this panel, but it's back later, so I don't know what that's about.
Chat, you gotta check this out. It's gonna be wild.
For real. Doesn't seem to matter. Which begs the question of why it's there, but anyway, Thor is still carrying Odin's lifeless body, so Hogun and Fandral leap to his defense until he finds a safe spot to leave dearly departed Dad. Unfortunately, the creature is made of energy, so their weapons pass right through it.
Why don't they just trade?
Because it seems that Carl didn't actually become this thing, he just used the spirit mold to create it and is now strapped into the machine to control it. So he's like remote piloting. Well, it's been like 2 seconds, so Thor's gotten far enough away. And he orders his friends to retreat. They try to do so, but that creates an opening, and the Odin Force takes them both out with one swing.
See, this is why you don't just run away from your enemy. They get an opportunity attack.
True.
You have to pin the enemy.
Well, you have to disengage, is what you have to do.
That's true, but disengaging is hard.
No, it's not hard, it just takes an action.
Yeah, an action you could be using to do something, anything.
Mad with power, Carl with a K declares his determination to save his planet by killing them all if necessary.
I mean, that won't really save your planet, my guy.
No, not really. The God of Thunder hurls Mjolnir, which unlike the normal weapons of his friends, does at least connect with the monster. Though just like when they were fighting outside, the hammer fails to return to him. This time the reason seems clear to him. The soul survivors extracted and harnessed the Odin Force, the power from which Mjolnir gets its enchantment. So they basically depowered or disenchanted it when he got here, which seems like poor sportsmanship to me.
Yeah, but they haven't been playing fair pretty much straight along.
True.
They kill gods.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of what they do. They aren't playing fair with gods.
He then decides to go after the Odin Force with his bare hands.
Okay.
Which actually seems to be working for a minute, until he gets kicked in the face.
Ah.
Sif leaps to his defense while Volstagg hangs back, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I'm just going to start willfully misinterpreting everything with Volstagg until they start being nice to him.
How many decades is it going to take for them to start being nice to him?
I don't know, a while. Of course, Sif gets immediately bodied, but in this case it's kind of believable. And also, it's not just her, the other ones did too, so whatever. Thor strikes back with a vengeance, and also immediately gets bodied as Carl monologues because he's enjoying this way too much.
Well, it's not every day you get to fight as a god.
Right. As a more powerful god.
Yes. I mean, sure, you're probably burning through whatever is left in the tank, but hey, sometimes you gotta just be inefficient about it.
It's okay, because once he kicks their asses, he's still got all these gods to tap into.
That's true.
Well, see, everyone has been knocked out, and while he originally intended to kill them, it does seem a shame to let all that god power go to waste. Carl with a K announces his intentions to plug them into the system while they're unconscious, but there is one Asgardian left standing, and he's not going to let that happen to his bestest buddies.
He says thee nay.
Volstagg steps up to challenge this seething energy in the shape of the Allfather. And yeah, the recorder is just standing there streaming this whole thing.
Yeah.
You know the chat is full of pog emotes. Carl is fairly dismissive, and for a moment Volstagg loses his nerve. But then he raises one trembling hand, and a beam of light bursts forth to smash into the Odin Force, causing it to scream in pain.
Okay, neat. I didn't know he had that in him, but you know what?
The Lion of Asgard has no idea from whence this power sprang, but he's prepared to make full use of it as he continues to blast the monster with wild abandon.
God of beams, God of beams.
Volstagg, god of beams.
Carl shields himself against the onslaught, and seeing his opponent weather the attack, Volstagg falters. Carl advances with newfound confidence, but cuts off mid-sentence as, and I'm going to read this verbatim because it's a really nice bit of prose. Howling in impotent rage, the seething behemoth staggers, then topples face forward to the cold hard floor, there to shatter like a thing of crystal, its countless fragments dancing in midair for an instant, hissing and sputtering, then, like so many dying embers, abruptly fading into nothingness.
Man, you could write, so why didn't you make a better story?
He can write prose. He cannot write plot.
He doesn't know how to plot.
Thor and the others rouse just in time to see this, and they commend Volstagg for his feat of bravery. Fandor then redirects their attention elsewhere, and they all watch as the alien machinery designed to siphon and house the power of gods begins to erupt around them.
Oh yeah, I think they hit empty. They actually ran it dry.
Above, the spirit mold itself also explodes, ejecting Carl with a K into the waiting arms of his lover? I can't imagine it's intentional, but these two absolutely have romantic overtones, so I'm just gonna assume they're married.
Why not?
Why not? They're aliens.
And we're probably never going to hear from them again.
Exactly. So it seems that by creating and using the Odin Force construct to fight the Asgardians, Carl with a K used up all the reserve power. The resulting feedback caused the entire system to overload, meaning that now the sole survivors don't have any power and don't have the technology to get more.
So, they're not doing a very good job surviving.
No. Nigel tries to comfort him, saying that they did all they could and perhaps it's time to accept the inevitable. But Carl is hysterical. This can't have all been for nothing. All this work to save their people and their way of life can't be pointless. He runs off while yelling, "Our dream can never die so long as one of us lives and breathes and hates!" Which we can all agree is a normal thing to say.
Of course. I say that all the time.
The Asgardians recover and regroup, none the worse for wear, apart from Odin, who is definitely dead.
Definitely still dead.
Forever. Yeah, forever and ever. They wonder at the origin of Volstagg's new power, but more importantly, Thor wonders if a booster shot of said power might not pull Odin back from the brink. Of course, Volstagg is more than happy to give it a shot, so he kneels next to the Allfather and places gently glowing hands upon his king. A few tense moments pass with no obvious result, and Thor starts to crack. Sif attempts to reassure him he did all that he could after all. No one could ask for more. She knows him too well, because of course his first instinct is to blame himself. He says that maybe if he hadn't gotten distracted aboard the Leviathan, or listened to the gargoyle, they could have made it here in time. Thankfully, his pity party is cut short by Carl with a K, leaping down the stairs like a feral monkey, determined to kill them all with his bare hands.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Probably a bad call, as he's just a scrawny little guy and mortal to boot.
Dude.
And Thor is now McFucking pissed.
Thor immediately grabs the alien, while Sif tries to prevent him from smashing his face in.
And then Mjolnir shows up.
Yeah, the whole scene is cut short as Mjolnir comes flying back to its owner's hand. Luckily, he catches it by reflex, pushing Sif out of the way just in time. But if Mjolnir is working again, that must mean...
Odin lives!
The Odin's back on. He's looking a bit pale,
A
but
bit.
he is alive. So Carl with a K is dropped and immediately forgotten, as the stricken Asgardians gather around to prostrate before their liege. He starts to make a speech, but then sways and topples toward the floor. Thor rushes forward to catch him, fearing to see his father fall again so soon, but the Allfather is only tired. His power has been drained, and though he's happy to see them all, the Odin sleep calls to him.
Nap time.
With their quest finally at an end, the Asgardians bear the tired old man back toward the Starjammer. Nigel arrives just in time to see them leave, but he has no interest in stopping them. Rather, he wants to find Carl, and he fears them he may already be too late. Then the recorder pops up to finally do something this issue.
Mm-hmm.
He directs Nigel toward his husband, probably, curled up and weeping on the floor. The two hold each other as slowly the rest of the soul survivors come out of hiding, gathering together to mourn their dream, their people, and their planet. This is, I think, not a terrible ending for them. And with any other writer, I don't think I'd be so hard-pressed to not question it. You know?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle with suspension of disbelief and tend to be overly critical of the choices of fictional characters. Like, yeah, it seems illogical to you, and you can point out 50 better plans, but that's because you're not them. And as the audience, you have the benefit of getting the wider picture and a lack of emotional bias. But when you look at it from their perspective of the soul survivors, this is all they ever knew. Their established way of life and existence was violently ripped away from them. And in that situation, they didn't just decide to do something else, because that's not what most people actually do.
But you know what? The universe is better when they're not killing gods.
Yeah. So, you know, this story is about people who responded to trauma by clinging to the past and inflicting trauma on others. And in that regard, I think it's actually pretty well written, and this ending makes sense.
Yeah.
So the Asgardians get back to their ship, but before they can leave, Thor insists on making a whole-ass bed for his dad. Like, okay, mythologically speaking, he was noted as a craftsman, and we have seen him do blacksmithing before, but that's very different from this. Where the hell did this wood come from, and why is it perfectly cut to the shape and dimensions he needs? Like, it's got joints to put it all together, and it has intricate carving and shit.
That's the thing I was wondering when he was sitting here putting this together, and you're like, yeah, he's building this. I'm like, where the fuck did he get all this wood?
Space Ikea.
Space Ikea on the Doomsday Star? I don't know about that.
Yes, look, Ikea gets around, okay?
Well, Ikea is Scandinavian, so
It's perfect.
it makes sense. On the trip back, Thor explains what happened. Seeing that his end was near, Odin bestowed what little remained of the Odin force to Volstagg. Knowing that this trickle of power could bring him back, he trusted the Lion of Asgard enough to jeopardize his very life. So, that's cool.
So Odin trusts Volstagg.
Odin trusts Volstagg possibly more than anyone else there.
Which is on brand when you stop and think about
yes, very, very much so. It's actually a pretty short flight back to Asgard. I mean, I guess they know where it is.
That's true. They've been just kind of tooling around all this time, but they know where they're going now.
Yep. Their return is greeted by a throng of happy citizens as Thor bears their king off to his bedchamber and tucks him in with a little kiss.
He has a new fit.
That's his bedtime fit.
Yeah.
It's not the same bedtime fit that we saw before, his Snuggie.
But that's a new fit. He got 2 fits in this.
Mm-hmm. A guard runs in to request their presence in the throne room, which Thor is all too happy to oblige. Surely it's faithful Balder, waiting to welcome them home. Outside the throne room, there's a visible stink cloud. An evil stink. It's literally the smell of evil. I don't know what this means, Len. What? You could have just had Thor get a bad feeling. He does that all the time. We don't need an evil stink cloud.
What does evil smell like?
Patchouli oil.
Well, the evil stench, of course, leads to Loki, sitting on the throne like a cat who just pissed in your bed.
We've evolved past the ye old horns.
Oh yeah, this is Loki's other hat. The other most notable hat. They've had several
It's
other
got
hats,
little
but...
spiky horn-like things on it. And but it's not nearly as, horny.
Right.
Hey, speaking of horny, not to make a weird compliment, but, here are some good-looking boobs.
Yeah, those titties are pretty good.
Yeah.
Ripley and I have been talking recently about comic books and how comic book artists don't know how to draw boobs.
Except for Terry Dodson.
And Walt, apparently.
And Walter.
Walter. The Enchantress and Executioner are also there, thus the tits. Surprise! Loki took over while they were gone. Who could have seen that coming?
And nobody seems to have complained.
What would you guys rate this one?
3.5.
At least a 3. Maybe a 3.5. We're finally wrapping up a storyline that should have been wrapped up ages ago.
It took way too long.
Took too long.
It really did.
This has been going on since the beginning of fucking Len.
Yeah.
What? I'm just... That's so long.
It's very long, yes.
That was not worthy of being a long-running story arc.
What do you think this has on CMRO?
3.
3 even.
3.47.
Oh, they liked it.
Yeah. They liked it less than the last one. Somehow.
Ooh.
Alright. Let's cap things off with Thor number 264. From July of 1977. Written by Len Wein, penciled by Walt Simonson, inked by Tony DeZuniga, colored by Glynis Wein, lettered by Joe Rosen, and the cover is by both Walt and Joe Sinnott.
I can definitely feel Joe on this one.
Yeah.
I think I'm starting to get a handle on what Walt's art looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And that traditional evil Loki doesn't really feel like a bit of Walt's work.
I strongly disagree.
Yeah?
Yeah, heavily.
It doesn't feel like it now. It might later.
Okay. So right at the top of the issue, we see that not only does Loki have the Enchantress and Executioner with them, but also our old favorites, checks notes, Crota, Magrat, and Snakehar.
We had to look that up.
Shit.
Thank goodness they're here.
I think I've heard all those names.
You have. We have. No, I'm dead serious. We have encountered all of them before.
Oh no.
Thor leaps up to the throne to challenge his sibling, casually tossing aside Crota as he does so.
Not exactly a challenge.
No. And now it's time to introduce the new pointless MacGuffin that says Loki is allowed to be king, as if we wouldn't just accept it because they're Odin's kid. Loki calls for the Cask of Sovereignty, which is a big Ark of the Covenant looking piece of shit box.
It really is. What?
And what's in the box? Is it a magic ring or a scepter or something cool?
What's in the box?
It's Dad's will.
Dad's not dead. He was dead. He's not anymore.
The document says, basically, that in the event Odin is unable to rule, the job goes to whichever kid puts their ass on the throne first. Since Thor left without doing that, he pretty much forfeited the position to Loki.
Wait. Now we need to acknowledge Balder as a child of Odin.
No, we don't.
Balder refused to put his ass
Oh,
on
you're
the
right.
throne.
He didn't sit there.
Specifically didn't do it.
Oh my god, that can't possibly be a thing they thought of.
No, definitely not. This form of chair-based autocracy may be silly, but it sounds like exactly the kind of obnoxious horseshit that Odin would pull.
It does. You know, the worst part of it? That actually sounds like the asshole we've been dealing with this whole time.
I personally would be very entertained to see the mad scramble to the throne next time this happens. Just tripping each other and yelling and screaming and pulling hair.
The funny thing is, out comes his will, and it says something completely different this time because he's updated since.
Funny you should say that. Anyway, this all seems to track, so Thor and co. decide to stop arguing for the moment. Loki sends them all away, but the God of Thunder leaves with a warning. Dad is home, and as soon as he wakes up from his nap, you won't be in charge anymore.
So childish.
I mean, they're siblings.
Thor looks really short here.
Yeah. Of course, our favorite trickster knows this all too well, and has already planned for it. They send Thing 1 and Thing 2, aka the Enchantress and Executioner, off to take care of the old man, before going into an evil monologue about how they did it. Complete with the other three dudes in the background like, well done, your evilness, and absolutely despicable, your gruesomeness.
Amazing.
This is a bit convoluted, but bear with me here. So Dad's will is actually a forgery. Fine. The invading army of animated armor was Loki's doing, and apparently after getting rid of Baldur, he then put on a show of defeating that whole army so that the people of Asgard would accept their rule with open arms.
Ah,
Okay.
Supply and demand of the war.
That's a decent plan. But then Loki and Amora used magic to make everyone forget that.
Why?
So that was pointless.
Loki says they cast a spell of forgetfulness, so my new subjects would remember only that they were now loyal to me, but not the reason why.
But doesn't the reason help?
So,
Right?
So why go through all the work to get them on your side in the first place? If you could do that from the beginning, then just fucking do that. Seems like the middle step was unnecessary.
It seems like everyone's willing to just accept you as king here.
Right. Also, you have a right to claim the throne. Stupid.
This was almost a good plan, and then it turned dumb. Why does it always do that?
It's like, if you had stopped at the first panel, we would have been good. It would have been fine. You know? That's all we needed. You didn't need to go into this.
A forged will and a supply and demand of an army to give you a reason to be in the chair. That's it. That's perfect. It works. And then you make them forget about the army?
So elsewhere in the palace, we get 3 panels of the Enchantress cutting a hole. Riveting.
Oh, is that what that is?
It is. Several ropes are lowered through the hole, which is directly above the sleeping Allfather's bed. The ropes magically tie themselves around the bed, allowing the executioner to haul the entire thing up into the ceiling. Very carefully, because they don't want to wake him up.
That would be bad if they woke up Dad here.
There's literally a board game about that.
Don't
Wake Daddy. Anybody ever play Don't Wake Daddy?
I never did.
I
I
never
saw
had
ads for it,
think
but I
I
never.
might have.
I never had it.
commercials. I saw commercials on TV when I was a child.
No, we saw ads on YouTube for it
So
in the
fucking-
90s.
He then picks up and carries the whole deal off to somewhere unspecified. Meanwhile, our heroes stand on the parapets, soliloquizing about this development. It seems that Loki told them Baldur left with the Norn Queen, once they had taken the throne and dismissed him, and so Sif suggests they go speak with their erstwhile friend. Thor likes that idea, so he bids the Warriors 3 to guard Odin while the two of them make the journey.
Well, failed job 1.
Failed from the beginning.
Did I say 2? I meant 3, because the recorder is still here.
He's been doing real numbers lately.
Exactly. Thor lets him know that he could stay behind, but the recorder insists that he must come along, because it's his job, and probably nothing interesting will happen at the castle once Thor is gone anyway.
So, I'm guessing...
I think that the Ragellians are like, you gotta stick with Thor, that gets us the best views.
And also, Loki's not going to let you watch. Whatever interesting thing's happening with Loki will not be allowed to be viewed. Whatever interesting thing happens with Thor will absolutely be in full HD.
Exactly. We then take a moment to poke fun at the recorder trying to ride a horse for the first time. Ha ha ha.
Statement. Whoa, horse. Whoa.
Ha 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 ha. Some unspecified amount of time later, I guess it can't be very long, they cross over into the fucked up and evil area where the Norn Queen lives.
You know, she can always make it less fucked up and evil.
What if she doesn't want to? What if that's her vibe? What if that's her aesthetic?
Okay, she can have fucked up and evil.
Yeah,
It just kind of looks a lot like Loki's.
she can't help that. Okay?
More than one person can have a fucked up goth vibe.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to get completely technical, I'm pretty sure that according to current lore, Karnilla was around before Loki.
Mm.
So, I think she has dibs.
So Loki's actually cribbing the vibe.
Loki's vibe is
Or at least
not exactly the same.
at this point in time, they're very similar.
They're similar, but they're not the same.
That's fair.
As always, they're immediately attacked by a couple of giants.
Damn it.
Not much to say about these guys. One of them pops up to startle them, and when Thor goes to fight that one, they all get pincer attacked by a second one. Sif and the Recorder get knocked down, and the former finds herself paralyzed by fear. Cool.
Why are you here then?
Whatever. Thor chumps these bozos single-handed because he always does.
Rip the goblins.
I mean, why go into it more than that? They're not goblins, they're
Whatever.
giants.
Rip the giants.
Meanwhile, the lads discover evidence of the Great Odin Caper and take off to the furnace room.
Oh no, we're gonna burn the body.
No, Carnella doesn't know what was up with those two giants earlier. She didn't hire them and doesn't know what they were doing here. Okay, so what about Baldur? She says that after Loki took the throne, she asked her man to come back here with her, and he said no. He chose to stay and guard the throne, as Thor had ordered him to do. The Odinson is confused, because Baldur was nowhere to be found in the palace, and they were told he had come here. The Recorder is the one who has to state the obvious. Loki is lying.
Wow, I'm shocked. I'm shocked
yeah.
Loki is lying.
Right? Almost as if that's what they do.
Do you think Loki would do that?
Like some kind of god of lies?
Loki tells lies?
Loki? No.
Not,
No way.
not trustable, believable Loki.
Honorable Loki.
Yes, the great honorable Loki who never lies.
Loki, god of truths?
Thor flies on ahead while the others take the long way back, which is good because shenanigans are happening.
They're weakened at Bernie's being Odin for a hot second.
The Warriors 3 arrive at the furnace room where they find signs of their quarry. Indeed, Volstagg uses his expert powers of deduction to determine that the Enchantress and Executioner are behind this kidnapping, just before the two of them blunder right into the trio.
Did you smell them? How? What
Well,
the hell?
They see, this is apparently not a lot of people come down here, so it's very dusty, and he sees, footprints in the dust, and they're like, oh, it was Scourge carrying, and they find the rope, and he's like, oh, this rope smells like magic, so, yeah.
That's amazing.
Swiftly, Hogun hurls a dagger, which pins the Executioner to a wall. He and Fandral then leap onto the Fiend to pummel him. Amora readies a spell, but then Volstagg body checks her to throw off her groove.
Wow, Volstagg, you've been really actually being useful lately.
Right? Scourge is a bit overconfident, and is so distracted by his boasting that he trips and falls into an open furnace.
You know, guys, you could let him just step on his hand. Something.
He manages to catch himself on a cross brace, but he's entirely at the mercy of Fandral and Hogun, who are both willing to pull him out, after he answers their questions, of course.
Ah.
Why is there a cross brace inside a furnace?
Who the fuck knows?
So he can hold on to it while answering their questions.
Exactly. Saying this, the Enchantress blasts Volstagg away and runs to help her partner. Romantic? Business?
Hey, maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, who knows? If he should give in and reveal Loki's plan, it will mean death for both of them, so she's not keen on that. But in her haste, she fails to notice Hogun's dagger sticking out of the ground, causing her to trip and also fall into the furnace.
Oh no! Oh my god, what?
She smacks into Scourge and the two of them tumble straight into the flames where they die forever.
And Hogun and Fandral just kind of
Watch.
I mean, Fandral does try to do something a little bit, but Hogun just watches. He really just watches.
Hogun sassily picks up his dagger and wonders how that could have gotten there, which I think anyone would interpret as he did that on purpose, but it seems the implication is that Loki somehow made that happen, because the God of Mischief watches on a magic flat screen while doing a villain monologue along the lines of, I will miss them, they were such good henchies, well, life goes on. Honestly, Loki's cartoon villain behavior is pretty on point this issue. Very camp. Down in the deepest, darkest part of the dungeon, in what I can only describe as an Asgardian oubliette, Balder languishes alone. He remembers everything that led to his capture. How he went to investigate the army, how he and Carnilla defeated Amora and Scourge, and how they were tricked by Crota disguised as Thor. Loki and the Enchantress then wiped Carnilla's memory and sent her home, but Balder got put down here with his memory intact. He's been here without food or water for days, his body weakening even as he fears for the fate of his kingdom. Suddenly, light floods into the cavern, and a group of guards roughly remove the noble Balder from his cell. Weak as he is, his struggling doesn't accomplish much. While up above, Thor slams open the doors to the throne room. Yeah, that last panel is not great. Thor slams open the doors to the throne room. He's got some choice words for his little brother, starting with, "Where the fuck is Balder, you little twerp?"
Okay, the throne you can take. My friends, you can't take those.
Loki drops the ruse immediately, but that's not exactly a good sign. Just as he's about to strike the god of evil, Thor hears a sound approaching. He turns to see what it is, but once his attention is diverted, Loki teleports the fuck on out of there while basically saying, "Y'all are fucked, and I'm not sticking around because I don't want to also die." Peace. What sort of monster has the mischief god summoned now? Why, it's none other than the very being created by Odin himself to defend against Ragnarok. The Destroyer!
Oh,
Again.
no.
What would you guys rate this issue?
3.
Yeah. Now that we're done with Lost Odin, this is better.
I'm always so happy when we get back to normal Asgard stuff, you know?
Yeah.
We should stay here. This is what we should
For
do.
a little while longer, maybe? Or
Asgard or Earth?
Either one.
going to space feels weird.
Space stuff is always bad. What do you think this is rated on CMRO?
3.5?
3.25.
3.11.
Ooh.
So, before I wrap up, though, I do have a couple notes. So we have now 4 episodes to be done with Len. 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a new countdown that I'm starting. We have 73 issues to Walt Simonson.
Oh.
On writing. So look forward to that.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, with that, I think that's going to be it for us this week. We look forward to talking to you next week.
Okay, William Shatner.
We look forward to talking to you next time on Comicsplaining.
Yep.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.